For far too long, the effective management of the customer's experience has been considered a soft skill. But today, successful companies recognize that the customer experience is king, or from my perspective, is queen. Welcome to CX Unplugged. I'm Gabrielle Gonzalez, your host, and in this series, you will hear from me and other industry experts about how prioritizing the customer experience led to amazing outcomes. Brought to you by the Multifamily Media Network. Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us on another episode of CX Unplugged on the Multifamily Media Network. I'm Gabrielle Gonzalez, your host, and today I want to talk about customer experience from a variety of perspectives. You know, in this industry, most of us have sat on both sides of the proverbial table. You know, we've maybe started off as a leasing agent, following up with prospects, and later we've maybe become the decision maker, fielding follow-ups from vendors. It's a great reminder, I think, that the customer really can be anyone depending on your perspective. So sometimes you're the one selling, and sometimes you're the one being sold to. So today's conversation is about what happens when those roles collide, when persistence turns into pressure, and what we can all learn, about service, timing, and respect from seeing that on both sides. Today's guest is an esteemed guest is Seanne Spangenberg, who is the Vice President of Sohos Capital. She is a tenured real estate executive who's got lots of experience in this space and recently spurred my interest from a post that I saw she made on LinkedIn. So I invited her to come on, and I know she is super, super busy, but I'm really, really thankful that you joined us today. Thank you for coming on, Seanne.
Of course. Thanks for having me. This is super exciting.
So, I think to start off, your post really just said it like it was. And by the way, it's got tons of engagement. And I think by the time this podcast comes out, it's probably going to have had way more engagement even. But I think that really speaks to the point that you really struck a chord with a lot of people out there, both on the decision maker side and also on the sales side. Maybe you could just sort of start by telling us a little bit about what that post was and what your perspective was that triggered you to make that post.
Yeah, absolutely. So within Sohos Capital, I oversee over 2 million square foot of commercial real estate. We're in the midst of building 1,000 multifamily units. And we're in the very beginning stages of that, mind you. And, we have a couple anchor joint venture businesses too, which is why I'm sitting in a movie theater today, because we built a brand new movie theater a year ago and we're hosting the Heartland Film Festival. So if you can imagine that, building 1,000 multifamily units, trying to get those off the ground, some of those affordable. So we're even talking about the groundwork in setting up affordable units. You still have that 2 million square foot of commercial real estate. You've got a bunch of different joint venture anchor stores that you're responsible for operationally. I also oversee HR and recruiting. So I have quite the large team as well. And so, you've got all that going on, and I'm always going to take care of the business first before I entertain a sales pitch. And I think what happens is time and time again is I will see something cool and I'll take that demo call. And then even though I am a straight shooter, I say exactly what I feel. I'm very upfront and specific. And I think what keeps happening is when I take these sales calls, and it's more so in the tech space of multifamily specifically, is I'll say, hey, we haven't put a shovel in the ground yet. We're getting very close to that. This is the potential for the amount of units we're going to have, but I'm about 9 months out from needing any technology services. And I even say, hey, I cannot entertain or handle endless follow-up. And everyone's like, okay, yeah, cool, I got it. And then the next week, it's a phone call, a text message, a LinkedIn message, an email, boom, 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 boom. And if you even saw a glimpse into my email inbox, my Slack channels, my texting, my LinkedIn messages. I mean, I can't even hardly get sometimes to what's truly important and the things that matter, which I'm always going to focus on because I'm being hounded by mostly vendors in the tech space. And I'll never name anybody, but it's just becoming a problem. And I've even said, hey, we talked about this. I said, please don't follow up for 9 months. And a lot of times I'll get a sidebar message saying, my sales manager is forced, I have to do these follow-ups, or it's part of my job. And I'm like, well, you can tell your sales manager that you're going to lose a sale completely because you are completely overstepping and not respecting my boundaries and the boundaries I have as a leader to my deliverables, my company, and my team. And it's not just one vendor, unfortunately. It's really just kind of how the tech space is leading their sales teams and how they think it's going to drive customer engagement and a faster decision or a promise. Or I've even had companies say, it's okay, just sign up now anyway. I'm like, well, no, I'm not going to sign up until we're further in the construction process, because that's going to completely change maybe what I want to do. So that's what spurred the post. And a lot of people after I posted it had reached out and said, oh my gosh, you're exactly right. Like, it is so predatory these days. And that's what I said, we're humans too, please respect that. We're not just a task in Salesforce that you need to check off that day to keep your sales manager off your back. Like, you're really doing the wrong thing.
Yeah. No, thank you for that. And, the first thing that occurs to me is, you are slammed, right? Like, you have a million things going on from, and not all even in the same context. There's tons of stuff going on. You're trying to multitask and shift gears constantly and stay focused on what's important to begin with. Right. So this kind of relentless follow-up is not helpful, to say the least.
Quite the opposite.
But, I gotta say, one of the things that really stood out to me too is the fact that you would tell someone, you're being transparent, like you're trying to be, as a decision maker, right? You're trying to be helpful to that salesperson and respectful. And by saying, hey, listen, I'm kind of interested. I'm sort of intrigued, but here's all the stuff on my plate right now. And so realistically, this is my timeline, and hopeful that you're trying to establish a relationship by saying that, right? In the first place. So when somebody comes back after that without any substantive context or content for you, it's almost like a slap in the face. Like, are you not hearing me? I want to have a relationship with you. I am really interested, but I just told you all of this and you're not seeing me, you're not hearing me, which I think is like a whole other conversation, not just in follow-up.
And there's another piece to that too. I think a lot of us, and I've seen some other people post about this a lot too, it's the blind reach out without doing any research whatsoever. I've been approached about purchasing appliances, and it's like, again, like, we're nowhere near that. Or, just people who haven't even done any company research or clearly haven't even read any of my posts to figure out, like, okay, they're in the development phase. So it's even more so than that, or the amount of emails that I get that say, hey man, or hi sir, assuming my name is Sean. Again, it's like just not even going on the website and seeing my picture. You shouldn't really lead with gender these days anyway, but also, like, I'm not a sir, I'm not a hey man, I'm not a hey my guy, like, it's not Sean, it's Seanne, it's different. So it's even that, it's just the blind, like, throwing out emails. Or yesterday I got one, hi Kelly, I'd love to talk to you. I'm like, I'm not Kelly, I don't like, so again, it's just
which was obviously like a cut and paste, probably, right? Like they had cut and
your sales Kelly. Yeah, it's crazy. Or, and it even goes a little deeper than that too. I had a colleague of mine reach out and ask me if I was going to an event for commercial real estate, and she's 100% multifamily and I'm mostly commercial right now. And it was just really interesting, like, even sometimes who these invites for some of these after parties are extended to, or, and who they're not. And we just kind of, us as the decision makers, we have to just kind of laugh about it behind the scenes, because we're like, wow, everybody's just so disconnected these days. It's again, it's that whole thing of, it's just so transactional. Let me just get my Salesforce task checked off to keep my sales manager off my back, instead of real relationships, which is what drives our industry, I think.
So true. Yeah. So true. I think it speaks to a little bit, one of the things I'm always preaching about is that the customer, right, is not just your end user. It's not just your tenant in your commercial space. It's not just your resident in your multifamily space. It's not just your patient in the medical space, right? The customer really depends on the perspective. And so in this conversation and in this perspective, the decision maker, right, that's the customer.
Right.
So from a sales perspective, you really need to think about what you're doing for that customer. And is the way that you're handling it, is it the way that you're going about it really on behalf of the customer or not?
Right.
And I think that's one of the things I think you even said in your post. You said, read the room, people.
Right.
Right? Like, this is not the right
Yeah.
time. It reminded me too of like way back in the day. And Seanne, I don't know if you did this or not. Did you start on site?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you probably inevitably had these two things happen to you. Tell me if you can relate. Because I bet our listeners can also. One, I remember being a leasing associate and having to go do corporate outreach for new properties, right?
Yep.
And one of the things that we would do is like go to restaurants and things. And so I remember one time going to a restaurant, I thought, oh, this is perfect. I'll go and do my corporate outreach with the manager and then have lunch. So it was like 11:30 or something. Okay. Yes, I could talk to the manager at that point, but no, that was not a good time for them.
No.
Like about to be in the heat of their high business. And here I am trying to talk to them about something that's totally ancillary, right? It's,
Right.
again, read the room. But I learned from that, right? And then didn't do it.
Yeah.
Can you relate with that one?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've all done those things where they're like, hey, this is not a good time. It's like, okay, when is a good time? They'd be like, between 3 and 4. Okay, great. And you learn from that and you move on from that. And luckily in our space, I feel like if I would have gone back and said, hey, I don't do outreach over the noon o'clock hour anymore because everybody's too busy and nobody can talk to me. Really, that sweet spot is between like 2 and 4 p.m. Okay, great. Do that. Do it makes sense.
Right.
No, it is interesting too. I find even sometimes when you do take these demos, you think, okay, cool, I'm going to learn all about it. And then you find out it's a 30-minute getting to know you demo to schedule another demo to then talk to another person. No one has time for this. I just need to see the product. I'm already clearly interested. I scheduled the call and I just wish too in some of these new sales models, we could just be transparent, cut to the chase. What's the price? What's the contract level? Because we don't have time. There's just no time anymore for 3 to 4 demo calls just to get to know you. It's like, no, I'm beyond that. Like, you seem nice, you seem great, but how much? What are the terms? What's the product? And so I think that that's really interesting too. Again, it is back to that like read the room thing. It's like, I've already said I'm busy. It may have taken you 10 follow-up calls to get me to say yes. And then I find out it's just an intro call. Like, no.
Yeah, we've already introed. So again, read the room. Yeah, it really does. It goes to that, broad brush approach that I think a lot of companies are using. And it doesn't, and I've been talking about that with different leaders on this show too, that a broad brushed approach just does not work. And I think increasingly it does not work as we are seeing multi-generational workforces with your Gen Xers and your C-suite. You've got the millennials really big and then your Gen Zs. Everybody's kind of looking for something different, but I think our relational capabilities are diminishing just a little bit because of all the technology that's sort of infiltrated our lives over this period of time. And so that being able to really cultivate and I don't want to say train, but help people understand how to build relationships is important instead of processes. Processes are good framework maybe, but we also have to have the relational aspect of things. Like going back to your point, don't just check off the box.
It's like, don't forget, technology is supposed to automate the things you can automate to leave more time for things you can't automate. And that is the relationship building. So it's great.
That.
Yeah,
I love that.
It's really great that we can use technology to automate some of these things, but it's never supposed to be a replacement for the human connection.
I love that. Tell me this. So here was, I said I had 2 ideas from having been on site a long time ago, right? When the salespeople would just pop in. So this is maybe I'm a property manager, I'm on site, and the salespeople would just pop in with like cookies or something like that. That used to drive me nuts. And I'm going to tell you what, because I'd be like, look, I map out my day. I have certain segments of my day where I'm doing behind the scenes work. I have certain parts where I'm making appointments, certain parts where I'm working with my team. And for you to just pop in is really kind of disrespectful, really, of
I
my
agree.
time, and just assume that because you have cookies in your hand that I'm going to stop what I'm doing and make time to talk to you. How do you feel about that?
No, I absolutely agree. I think it's just not, and it's not a feasible approach anymore. I think those of us in the industry can also attest that there's just more expectations and demands and, different things that are put on all of us. It's especially hard to just walk in and me have time to stop everything I'm doing with you. In fact, we just don't. Our lovely front desk associates, they just don't even let it happen anymore because we're like, hey, it's never okay. I understand how that approach may have worked in the past when we, weren't so technology driven. Our calendar was on our desktop, but even so, now, I just don't think it's appropriate. I think you need to just schedule that out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah. That's what I used to tell that to people all the time. Like, just get it on my calendar.
Right.
And if I can, then I'll be happy to chat and bring me the cookies. That's great. But if I'm already busy, then that's kind of rude. I don't want to be rude to you. And
Right.
it's kind of presumptuous to just show up and assume that I'm sitting around here not doing anything.
Yeah. And
Time to chat.
And I've had people do it correctly where they're like, hey, I'm just dropping off the holiday pretzels. I don't need to schedule anything. Just make sure she gets them. That's totally cool. But I've had people say, I'll wait. And I'm like, no, you're not going to just wait for me today. And that's when I do pop out and I'm like, no, we're not going to do this today. Here's the link to my calendar if you want to schedule something. But
Right. Right. Yeah. I know it is tough. I think the bottom line is you're juggling so many things these days that it's important for people to be respectful of your time.
Absolutely.
Now, okay. So on the other side of that, I think we talked about it. You mentioned it initially, is that, salespeople are being trained in such a way, right? Which I don't think I want to say too, I don't think is so different than in years past, right? Follow up, follow up, follow up. And, I've looked at a variety of articles on this topic to see, for me to sort of just evaluate how different is the guidance in terms of follow up today than it was 20 years ago. And I'm going to be honest, it's really not very different.
Sure.
It's still very pressure oriented. And I don't know about you, but I always would guide my folks to say, if you're going to, we do have to follow up. So if we're on site, right? Or we're in sales. So we're on the other side of that and we're in sales. We have to follow up, but always follow up with something substantive. I would always say, don't just follow up and say, hey, I'm calling or sending an email or texting you just to follow up. That's such an empty, annoying, I must have just checked the box. What do you want? What are you following up for? What more value are you bringing to me? What do you think on that side of things is a good strategy for follow-up?
I think it's very necessary. And, something I would always train my on-site teams is as long as we were following up in different ways, like a call, back in the day, something handwritten and mailed, an email, a text, as long as we're trying different avenues. But at a point, if we stop hearing back completely, then it's time to just mark that person as lost. Because I believe I'd rather spend my efforts and my time on following up with somebody who's also re-engaging. So I get it. We have to do it. It's important. But I do agree with you. Follow-up has to be specific. You have to do multiple avenues. It can't just always be the same thing. And we're all smart consumers these days. We know when it's a copy and paste message. We can tell. We know when it's Chat GPT and it's full of the M dash. We know. So you have to be specific, authentic, but also know when it's time to say, no response back. It's time to just move on. It's that reading the room thing again. It's clearly this person isn't interested. And we should use that time and effort for people who are still on the hook. And like I said, who are re-engaging back. That's where you want to spend your efforts, not on someone who you've sent 50 text messages to and you never get a response back. That's just wasted effort.
Right. I love it. It's wasted effort. So in that space, what do you think about ghosting? So in your post, right, that triggered this whole thing in the first place, you were trying to be respectful. You were trying to really be transparent, build this relationship with this vendor and say, hey, interested, but I'm 9 months out on this. So I do want you to follow up. Put me on your thing, follow with me 9 months from now or 6 months from now. But I might be inclined to if somebody's relentlessly following up and I'm feel like I communicated effectively. I let you know where I'm at, and I'm just going to ghost you now.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like ghosting is such a thing these days that,
Mm-hmm.
Again, 20 years ago, people just didn't do that. But I sort of feel like we're getting communication from so many different
Mm-hmm.
modalities
Mm-hmm.
that maybe that's why people are ghosting. Or what do you feel? Tell me what your thoughts are about the whole ghosting
I think
piece
it
in
is
this space.
twofold. I think sometimes people ghost other people because they're fed up with the follow up. It's like, look, I've already given you your answer. I don't even have time or space to give you the same answer I've already given. Like, you should go back through your notes and see what we talked about before you ask me for another follow up. But also, I think a lot of it is intentional. I, every couple of days, have to go in and clear out my voicemail box because it's full. And so it's just impossible to respond to everything
Hmm.
sometimes,
Hmm.
especially these more blind LinkedIn messages and blind text messages or emails that come out of nowhere. You don't mean to ghost, and I don't think ghosting is appropriate, but sometimes it's just out of necessity. Because I mean, I'm going to tell you, if I'm getting 300 emails a day and yours is a blind sales pitch, but I have a, resident or, a commercial tenant that needs something, or one of my team members, they're always going to come first. So I think ghosting, it certainly does happen and it's unintentional. And then you find yourself just having to delete things to
Hmm.
get to the most important things, the things that matter in your day. So I don't necessarily think ghosting is great, but it does happen just out of necessity sometimes because there's too much, or it happens because you are fed up. And sometimes, hey, I'm guilty of it. I will angrily ghost people if it's like, no, I've already told you the answer.
Right. I love that. I know. I feel like am the same way. Like if I feel that I have, not if I feel, but if I have
Mhm.
communicated effectively with you and made it very clear, these are my boundaries, this is my timeline, and you continue to not observe that, then
Mhm.
I'll just ghost it. But I always have tried
Mhm.
really, really intentionally to never ghost someone who's sincerely reaching out, and trying to just do their job. And I've tried to let them know this is where I'm at, and either engage or tell them when they might engage later, but always some sort of a response. Yeah,
Yeah.
some sort of a response.
And I do agree.
Unless you deserve to be ghosted.
And I do agree with what some of the comments I got on the vendor side were, and they're like, I just wish everybody would be transparent. Now I do agree with that. If you know a service is outside of your budget constraints or you're just not interested, I do think on my side, it is important that people just say it. I don't know why we're afraid to just say it. Sometimes it really drives me crazy. But again, I'm one of those crazy people that I just say it, and I say I'm just very transparent and upfront from the start. I do think on the other side, on the decision maker side, we just need to be more upfront with people too. Then you don't feel
Hmm.
so bad for ghosting because you've already set the expectation pretty clearly.
Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I think this is such a relevant conversation, and as evidenced again by all the engagement your post got.
Uh-huh.
And so I really want to, again, thank you so much
Of course.
for A, making the post, and B, being willing to just say what needs to be said,
Mhm.
and C, taking the time to sit with me as
Sure.
well in that busy schedule and share this with a lot of people who I think can really benefit from
Mhm.
this conversation, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So I would love to leave our listeners and our watchers with even just, a bit of advice. Like if there was that one bit of advice you could give to the salespeople, the tech sales folks in the real estate industry, or I think really it transcends industries. It's just in that sales space. They're trying to do
Mhm.
their job. They're trying to make their numbers.
Mhm.
They're trying to, source leads. They're trying to move their sales
Sure.
along. What would be some advice that you would give to them so that they could continue to make that progress and follow up in the right way?
Yeah, I would say just slow down, take a step back, be more intentional. Give that email blast a second look before you send it out and you have the wrong name, the wrong gender, etc. Just, I know we're in the world of fast, 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 now, 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 do as much as you can. But I mean, I think everybody would agree you would rather have 5 really good solid leads that might lead to 5 leases, contracts, etc., than 200 leads that go nowhere. So just take your time, slow down, and be more intentional. And again, just that whole read the room thing, and shorten up your process and your demo process. Like, can you imagine if we had to tour somebody an apartment 3 or 4 times before we would let them fill out an application? I think we just really need to try to streamline some of these demo to contract processes too, because we just don't have time.
I think that right there is like the boom takeaway of this, right? Again, from their perspective, that's it right there. Let's streamline that process. Read the room.
Right.
If you can move it along more quickly, skip the 2 intro meetings and let's just move along.
Yeah. Again, would you rather spend your time chasing somebody where they're going to find out after 5 meetings that it doesn't fit in your budget? Or do you want to know the first meeting so you can spend time on those people where you are aligned in budget? So
absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Well, Seanne, thank you so much again for joining us. Thanks for your perspective. Thanks for your candor and your directness and your interest in building relationships in this industry. It is really refreshing. And I think it's really an indication of a direction we all need to follow and go in that way. So, hey, if anyone wants more information on, what you do, or maybe just wants to follow your posts and your insights on this great industry, where can they reach out to you?
I think LinkedIn for anything in that relation is probably the best way to go. And even if it's a business inquiry, usually I can kind of start there and funnel people to the right place.
Okay, terrific. Thanks so much again. And thanks everybody for joining us on this episode of CX Unplugged on the Multifamily Media Network. I hope you'll join us next time for more really interesting conversations on the customer from whatever perspective we're coming from. Thanks so much. Until next time. Bye-bye, guys.
CX Unplugged, where we have redefined who your customer really is. Join me next time to hear more missteps and masterful manifestations in the world of multifamily customer experience. Brought to you by the Multifamily Media Network.